Well, welcome back this week. We are talking about going all in 2025. And this week, we are going to talk about boundaries. I've had a lot of conversations recently with people around boundaries and honestly, just the importance of it. I think, when you're talking about going all in, one of the things you have to recognize is what's important to you and where you put your time and where you put your energy and where you put your focus. Remember, my word is focus for the year. And so that also means putting boundaries in place, and not always easy. I know for me it can be tough, but learning how to do so, it is better for you and for those around you. So let's talk a little bit about that today. Boundaries. So, what boundaries have you put up?
Yeah. Well, we've talked about my whole peace and consistency thing. I won't steal yours like I did last time and say focus, although focus kind of lives in all of it, really. Um,
Yes.
for peace and consistency and boundaries, I think boundaries play a lot into my words for this year because one, peace, meaning, am I making sure that I'm honoring what I need? And if
Yes.
I'm not honoring what I need, why? If am I
Mhm.
letting other people pull on my time, overschedule, say yes
Hmm.
to things that I shouldn't say yes to because I know that it's going to pull me away from my
Yep.
goals,
Yep.
or my peace. And then on the consistency side, it's being very clear about my time, saying, this is what I'm doing on this day. This is what I'm doing on this day. And if somebody calls me and says, "Hey, you want to have coffee?" I have to say no
Yep.
because I want to spend time with you. Let's find another day. But I've
Yep.
already allocated that time, and it brings us back to sort of self-care, I think, which we've been kind of having a theme throughout this
Yeah.
about that, because if you're not, part of your self-care is boundaries. Part of your
Yep.
self-care is saying, when I don't do the things that I've set myself up to do that week, that I've promised myself that I'm going to do, when I don't do
Yeah.
it, and I kind of do the squirrel because things come
Yep.
in and you get offered fun. Not that you shouldn't have fun,
Yep.
go have fun. But darn it. But
Yes.
sometimes we can very easily, especially as self-employed people, we can very easily flex our time to the point where we're not getting anything done anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's such an important piece. And I want to reiterate the fun part because it is important to have fun. But I think one of the things that is so hard sometimes is when you have shown up a certain way in places with people, environments, the moment you put up those boundaries, there's that resistance of, okay, should I, should I? And the reality is, yeah, you should. The boundaries are important. And sometimes there are people who will understand it very easily and honor it, and others it's going to take a little bit longer for them to understand why the boundaries are being put up. But when you are truly true to yourself, there's a lot of times I always say, I'm unapologetically Paula, and I tell people I'm not saying that from being crazy about it, but I'm saying it because that's really important to me, to show up as myself. And boundaries is one of those things I've gotten really clear about over the last few years. Doesn't mean I'm always perfect. And that's the other thing here. But what you just said, even about the self-care piece, we have to take care of ourselves. And when we allow other people's issues, I always say, your urgent is not my urgent. And so we have to be very clear about when people make choices and how it pulls us into things. Why, where should we show up, right? The why is, why should I have to change whatever it is that I'm doing because of the choice that you made? And it doesn't mean I'm not being helpful or I can't be helpful. What I'm saying is that part of boundaries is being very clear about what I will and won't do. And I think sometimes it's so hard for people to sometimes understand that when you've always been the one showing up, when you've always been the one taking care, when you've always been the one who says, yep, I'll do it because you wanted to. When you, as I call it, my new season of life here, it really is about understanding that it's okay to say no. I've said it for a long time. We all know no is a complete sentence. It's important to say that, hey, yes, I would love to go out for coffee, breakfast, whatever, but I just can't today. Let's try another day, and it's okay. And I think when you do that in all aspects of your life, putting up the boundaries with people. There are people in sometimes in your lives where it's a little bit toxic and you've allowed it. And when you finally start talking about the pureness of self-care, it is about you and the boundary of you come first. And I just had a conversation with somebody talking about whether that's selfish or not. And I said, you know what? Sometimes it's okay to be selfish. It is. Yes.
To laugh because I have a saying too, and I can't remember where I got it from, but it was your lack of planning and follow through should not become my emergency.
Yeah, that's it.
And
That's it.
I find that happens a lot. And because of sort of our nature, I'm a fixer, recovering. uh,
Yep.
I'm always the one that wants to jump in and like solve and help and like save the day.
Yep.
But and that's great if it works for you. And there are
Yeah.
times, obviously, where things go wrong and you got to jump in and everybody's got to jump in the pool and help and
Right.
take care of something. But when it comes to like sort of daily life and daily work and daily things,
Yes.
a lot of times we get ourselves pulled into, I could even say dramas, issues,
Yeah.
people that aren't doing what they said they were going to do, right? And then that
Yep.
that affects you.
Yep.
I think it's really important, and I'm obsessed. A whole bunch of my friends are obsessed right now with the Let Them Theory by Mel Robbins, right? And it's not anything new to me in terms of like conceptually what she talks about, but it's the way it's the way it's framed. And I think
Yeah.
that the way it's framed is, you let them deal with it, and then and this has to do with boundaries, you let me choose how I'm going to honor myself in that moment
Yep.
and allow them to do them, but then allow me to do me. And I think
Yeah.
that's where that has been one of my biggest challenges, I would say, in my life, as well as in
Yeah.
my own work and business, is
Yeah.
always feeling like I was trying to be the savior of the situation.
Mm.
And
Mm.
and then that blows up your world
Yep.
because you're like, well, I had this plan today and this, and I was going to do this for myself, and I was going to get this done for my business and whatever. And then all of a sudden something blows up and you've just dropped everything.
Yep.
Now, obviously emergencies, family things like that are different,
Yep.
but I think a lot of times, we can get pulled into something that isn't necessarily something that we need to be addressing right that moment, that
Right.
day.
Correct.
And I think it
And I,
happens.
yeah, and I think so much of this in terms of even conversing about boundaries is it's a choice. It's a choice. And so much of what everybody does, it's a choice. And so we can choose to, again, going back to the self-care piece, putting ourselves first and recognizing that, again, even by putting yourself first, everybody's not going to necessarily like that because of maybe how you've previously shown up. But it is a choice to be able to put up clear boundaries, being able to say no, being able to recognize that by putting myself first, it's okay. And because, like I said, I don't apologize for that. And I think sometimes when you've shown up in a certain way for years, for decades, it is sometimes very hard for those around you to recognize like what's happening. And I just continue to say that it's a choice that I'm making. Um, so kind of as we wrap up here, let's where do we want to leave everybody with in terms of boundaries? What do you want them to get done this week?
I think it's just honoring yourself, honoring your time. If you have set aside, and I'm preaching to myself too here. If you have set aside time to take care of things in your life, business, work, and somebody wants to pull on that time, really,
Mhm.
really, really ask yourself, is this really the right choice for me? Is this the right choice for me? Or am I jumping in, and because someone else needs me? And again, like I
Yeah.
said, extenuating circumstances aside, but really honoring that, wow, I didn't get that done because, and then look
Mhm.
at the answer to that question. I didn't get that be done because I watched Netflix and decided to watch three more episodes instead of get my content done. I didn't do that because a friend called me and said, "Hey, do you want to go play pickleball on Friday
Yeah.
morning?" And you're like, "I would love to play pickleball, but I can't do it Friday morning because I have this other
Yeah.
thing scheduled." I think it's really important to honor the appointments. And that's something I've done in my coaching for years, especially with practice, right? Honor the
Yep.
appointments that you make with yourself.
Yep.
Honor
Yep.
the appointments that you make with yourself. They are non-negotiables, just like if you had an appointment for your haircut or your dentist or whatever. Honor the appointments that you make for
Yeah.
yourself in your life and in your business.
Yeah. Love that. Love that. Well, here's mine. This is going to actually drop on my birthday, and I recognize that I always celebrate birthdays. I love birthdays. I think it's the beginning of for the new year. And one of the things that I have found is the importance of taking time on your birthday to do what you want to do. It's the one day I say it's my day, and it's the boundaries that I put up. I do not work. I do not get on calls. I don't do any of that. I do what I want to do. And so my challenge to everybody this week is put up the boundaries for yourself and choose you. Choose you. And I know, going back to what was said, right? There are circumstances when sometimes you just can't do that because you got to help or do whatever. But try really hard this week to choose you. Whether it's an hour, a day, a week, it doesn't matter. But really put up the boundary and make the choice, the intentional choice to choose you and put up a boundary, whether it's a person, an event, environment, whatever it may be. But choose you. Let's put some boundaries up this week and let's be intentional about it for the rest of the year. Because remember, we're going all in 2025. Thank
That
you.
is a great way to end our time together today. I just want to thank Paula because this is fun. I love getting on with this thing and talking about stuff. Even at like today, it was 8:30 in the morning, which I know, she could have put a boundary around it and said, "I don't get up that early," but she didn't. But we are still all in 2025, and we love sharing our journey with you. We hope that you'll pop some stuff in the comments or reach out and let us know what your journey looks like for 2025 and how you're doing.
Love it. Have
All
a good
right.
one, everybody.
Bye.